Hello, today I'm going to show you how to stretch a canvas. And I guess a good question is, why nowadays do you need to know how to stretch a canvas? You can just go to any store and buy a pre-primed, pre-made canvas. But these are always in basic shapes, like 8 by 10 or 9 by 12. And what if you want to make a canvas that's, say, 5 inches by 30 inches? Then you'll need to be able to make your own canvas. You're going to need to go to the store and get stretcher bars. And when you get these, you want to check to make sure that they're straight, that they're not warped, and that the corners aren't chipped or cracked, things like that. You'll need 4 stretcher bars. And generally you can wiggle these together. Like this. There is not a front or a back to the stretcher bars. If these are too hard to get together, wiggle together, then you can use a rubber mallet to tap them together. Once I have these together, you want to make sure that they're at a 90-degree angle, that they're square. So you put them into the square and check each corner to make sure it's 90 degrees. You could also do this in a door frame with larger canvases. With smaller canvases, generally you can do it with one of these squares. After I have it square, I'm going to put 2 staples in the corners just to hold it, because you do put pressure on the canvas while you're stretching it, and sometimes that can make it go out of square. Here's a staple gun, and you pull this down, the plunger, and then put staples in. I find that 5/16 inch staples usually work the best. And then those go on those 2 tracks, and then the plunger goes back in, up and under. Some of these have a wire on them, and you have to make sure that wire is down. I'm just going to put 2 staples in each corner across the crack. And you have to make sure that this is on the back side, because we're going to be taking these staples out later. Next, you need to cut your canvas. Canvas comes 3 different ways. This is linen. It's more expensive, and it's used by professional artists. It's made from the flax seed, from the flax plant. It has a tighter weave, and it will also last a lot longer. Generally, students use cotton duck. It's made from the cotton plant. It does have some irregularities in it, and it won't last quite as long. It'll last about 25 to 75 years. Linen will last hundreds of years. And then you can also buy canvas that's pre-primed. It has gesso on it already. And for our purposes, it's best to work on ungessoed canvas, and I will show you how to gesso or prime your canvas later. For a small canvas like this, it's 18 by 24, generally 2 inches. You'll need 2 inches of canvas around if you're stapling on the sides. Some students like to staple on the back, and they like to paint on the sides of their canvas. Then I would suggest that you have 2.5 or 3 inches extra canvas around here. So now I'm going to put my canvas stretchers in the middle. I'm going to pull this up. And I'm going to put a staple in the middle. I'm going to staple on the sides of this canvas. You can get your canvas tighter when you do it on the sides. But either way is fine. Then I'm going to go to the opposite side. And I'm putting these staples right in the middle. Sometimes it helps to stretch a canvas with a partner. I've done so many of these that it's pretty easy for me to do it by myself. You'll now see that there's a diamond shape in your canvas. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down and away from that middle staple. And now I'm going to pull down and away this way from the middle staple. And I put a staple about every 1.5 inches. Same here. You want to pull your canvas fairly tight, although when you gesso it, it's actually going to make it tighter yet. So you don't want it too tight. Now what I do a lot of times is, if I have a rectangle, I might put 2 staples on the long side so it evens out with the shorter side and I get to the corners at the same time. If you work with somebody else in class, then they can pull the canvas while you staple it. So now we go all the way to the corners. Let's just say I have all these done to here. A lot of times I'll put 1 staple in this way at the corner. And then on this side, I'll tuck this under and over, like a hospital corner. So under and over, and that'll give you a nice corner. Let me do that one more time. Under and over. So now I have my whole canvas stapled. I'll need to take these staples out of the corner. As I mentioned, these are stretchers, and they get the name because you can stretch your canvas. Sometimes after a couple years, your canvas will loosen up. It won't be as taut because of humidity, things like that. And so you can put these, they're called keys, these wedges. They're wood, or sometimes they come plastic. And generally nowadays you have to ask for these. And also they used to give these to you free. Now sometimes you have to buy them. But the keys go into the corners, into these slots in the stretcher bars. You put the one in closest to the canvas first, and you put the flat side against the stretcher bar, and then you put this one in. So you need 8 keys, 2 for each corner. You don't have to put these in right away, but as I said, in a couple years, if this loosens up, then you can tap these into the corners, and it will expand your canvas, and then it'll make your canvas tight again. That's why we need these staples out in the corners. We just put them in while we're stretching the canvas so it stays a square. So once I have these out, then what I normally do is tack down the extra canvas in the back. This is also an advantage to making your own canvas. When you buy a canvas, many times they cut it right to the edge, and then you don't have the opportunity to re-stretch your canvas. With this extra, I can take my canvas, my painting off the stretcher bars, and I can re-stretch it later on if I want to, because I would have something to grip onto. After this, then you're gonna write your name with graphite pencil. Don't use a marker or ballpoint pen. That will bleed through your canvas. Some of these staples aren't in all the way, so you should go around all of them and just tap them in to make sure they're flat, like this. You don't have to do that on the staples on the back if you don't want to. And then your canvas is all ready to gesso, and you're going to gesso on the sides and on the front. Usually one coat of gesso is okay. What you can do is put your canvas up to a window and look at it after it's been gessoed and see if there's any spots that you missed, and then you could put a second coat on if you want to. So these are stretcher bars. They can expand. You can also make strainers. A strainer does not expand. I have 1x2s that you can make into a strainer, and you can nail them in the corners or screw them in the corners. And this also works well for a frame to paint on. And one other thing that I wanted to point out is this is called a canvas pliers. You can use this to pull the canvas taut. It has a fulcrum on the back that you can use as a lever to pull this taut while you staple it. Sometimes this actually makes it too tight for regular canvas. Then when you gesso it, it even makes it tighter. But these work really well for the pre-prime canvas. You can get this canvas real tight with these. Let me just check my list here. And I think that's everything. Okay.